Okay, factorising. Let's have an introduction on factorising. Let's go 2x plus 5. When we expand, we go 2x plus 10. But now what we're doing is we're giving you the expanded expression and saying put brackets in. So factorising means put brackets in. We're going to look at the two terms and see what is common in both of them. At the moment, there's numbers in both of them, and I don't know whether you can see it, but there's a 2 in both of them. 2 is a common factor between 2x and 10. 10 is 2 times 5, and this 2 is 2 times 1x. Complicated, I know, but when you see it happen, you're just going to see it, to be honest. So I'm going to say there's a 2 common to there. So I'm going to pull the 2 out. When I've pulled the 2 out, the only thing left in there is an x. And when I pull the 2 out of a 10, I'm leaving a 5. When I say pull it out, I'm actually meaning dividing by. So this x is 2x divided by 2, and that 5 is 10 divided by 2. 2 is the number that I've pulled out. Once we do it a couple of times, you'll just see it. So let's just ditch all that messiness and go again. 3x plus 6. What can you see is common between these two terms? Can you see that there's a 3? So when I pull a 3 out, you say, what's left? When I pull the 3 out, only thing left is x, and when I pull the 3 out the front, that's going to be a 2. I'm dividing the 3 out. 4x plus 12. What's common between a 4x and a 12? Well, I reckon there's a 4 that's common. I can pull a 4 out of that. And when I pull a 4 out of a 12, I get 3. You can see that if I expanded it, 4 times x is my 4x, and 4 times 3 is my 12. So it's the reverse process. So that's all we need to know in grade 8, is that for factorising and expanding are opposite processes. So that's the only thing you need to know, is to know that they're opposite. That's all we need to get a pass, but clearly we want to do more than pass, don't we? We want to excel, because I've got some gun students. Let's go with something a little bit harder. Let's go 6x plus 9. What's common between the 6x and the 9? Really, I'm just looking at the 6 and the 9. Well, it's not 6, is it? Everything else, the whole number has come out. That whole 3 has come out. But here, the thing common between the 6 and the 9 is I can take a 3 out. When I take a 3 out of that 6x, I leave 2x, and a 3 out of the 9 leaves plus 3. So you can see, if I expand, 3 times 2x is my 6x, and 3 times 3 is my 9. You just get to seeing what can come out. 12x plus 15. What's common between the 12 and the 15? I'm going with a 3. 3 4s are 12, and 3 5s are 15. It's getting easier and easier, isn't it? Well, let's change it up a little bit. That's a squared. So here, clearly there's a 3 in both of them. So I could go 3 outside of x squared minus 4x. Yeah. But can you notice that there's something else common? There's an x there, and there's actually x squared, there's 2 times x, isn't there? So there's more than just the 3 that's common. Let me write this differently. It's 3 times x times x. And what we said is this 3 is common to the numbers. But if you look, I've got 2 x's in the first term and 1 x in the second term. So there's an x that's common, right? So when I pull the 3 and the x out of that first term, the only thing left is x. When I pull the 3 out of the 12, I get 4, but I'm also taking that x out the front, so that x is gone. I know that's messy. And I've just rubbed out pretty much the whole thing. Let's just start again, 4x squared plus 8x. 4 times x times... You don't need to do this, but you can see what's common between the numbers and what's common between the letters is what we're going to get to. What's common between the 4 and the 8? Well, there's a 4, and I didn't leave myself enough room there. What's common between the letters? Well, I reckon there's an x that's common. When I take a 4 and an x out of that first term, the only thing left is x. And when I take a 4 and an x out of that term, I leave a 2. And let's check that. What's 4x times x? And what's 4x times 2? You can see that that's my original question, so I can sort of check to see that I'm right. Okay. You can see how quickly we're getting hard because I'm dealing with some advanced factorising here for grade 8. Let's go 6ab c plus 9b. That'll do. Okay. So, we're going to look at the numbers first. What's common between 6 and 9? Well, I reckon there's a 3. Ideally, you don't want to do this in steps, but you know that that's going to be a 2 and that's going to be a 3 because you can see that already, but let's do it later. Then we've got to look at the letters and go, what's common in the green highlight? So I reckon there's a B in both of them, so a B can come out. So what you're going to work out what this term is, I'm going to say that I've taken a 3 out of that and I've taken the B out of that, which leaves 2AC. Then there's a plus sign. I've taken a 3 out of the 9, which leaves my 3, and that B has gone, it's been taken out. I've got to take it out of that second term. So that is my answer. And if you wanted to check it, we can expand it. What's 3b times 2ac? And 3b times 3 is... So we get back to that question. It's a fast pace, isn't it? Okay. Got a treat for you. These are the really hard questions in that worksheet, in that expanding worksheet. We're going to factorise and simplify all at the same time. Whew. Okay, so I'm looking at this top line there and factorising it. And I reckon there's a 5 common. So 5y minus 3. On the bottom, there's a 2 common. So I'm going to pull the 2 out and go y plus 4. Then there's a multiply by sign. On the top is a y plus 4, and on the bottom is a 10. Now I don't know whether you can see it. There's a y plus 4, and there's a y plus 4. I don't know what y plus 4 is, but when something is divided by itself, they cancel. So because they're exactly the same term, I can cancel entire brackets. The other thing I can do is I'm looking at these numbers and going, hey man, that's just fractions core skills. I can cancel this 5 and that 10 to be 2. And all I'm going to do is write in my answer what's left over. In the denominator, I've got a 2 and a 2, which when multiplied together get 4. And the only thing left on the top is this, y minus 3, because everything else is gone. So that is that, but simpler. So that would be simplifying. The only way we can simplify is to factorise and then cross out brackets. Here's another one. We're going to factorise and simplify. See that 3a plus 6? I reckon there's a 3 common. So let's take out a 3, a plus 2 on 2. Hey, we never divide by a fraction. We don't divide by a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. And there's implied brackets there. You don't see them in the question, but they're definitely there. Okay, just like last time, have you noticed that that bracket is the same as that bracket? So although I don't know what a plus 2 is, whatever it is, it's the same on the top and the bottom, so they can cancel. That 2 and that 4 can go. So the only thing left in the whole sum is there's a 3 on the top and a 2 on the top, and there's nothing on the bottom but 1s. So what's 3 times 2? 6. So I don't know what a is, but whatever a is, when I simplify that expression, I'm going to get the answer 6. Hey, you're loving this, aren't you? This is fun. Oh my gosh, you might not love this one. But yes, this is a grade 8 simplification. It's a hard one. It's an A or a B level, but it's definitely grade 8. Okay. Don't worry, for you grade 8ers, it's hard for a grade 9er as well, and hard for some grade 10s. So, we are just going to do this one step at a time, looking at that. What's common? I'll keep my equal sign there. Okay, I've got a 4 and an 8. So there's a 4 common. There's at least one P and at least one Q common to both terms. So I'm taking a 4 and a P and a Q out of that. The only thing left will be a P. I'm taking a 4 and a P and a Q out of that. So that's going to be a minus 2Q F plus 3H times. The bottom's easy. 2PQ. Let's come back here. There's a 2 and a 6. So there's a 2 common. F plus 3H. Hey, we don't divide by a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. So the 7 comes on top, and when I look at this 2p minus q, I know I've got writing everywhere, 2p minus q, there's a 2 common, p minus 2q. Do you like the look of that? That's a ripper, isn't it? Okay, see this bracket and that bracket? They are the same bracket, so the whole bracket cancels. P minus 2Q, P minus 2Q, the whole bracket cancels. Can you see that there's a P and a Q there and a P and a Q there? So guess what? I don't know what P and Q are, but the P cancels and the Q cancels. Whew. So what's left? I've got a 4, a 2 and a 7. The only thing left on the bottom is this 2 and that 2. I could have cancelled back in here, but can you see how messy it's getting? So we just want to write a new line, and once we see it like that, we're going to go, that 2's gone, that 2's gone, 2 7s are 14. So, guess what? When I calculate that, I get the number 14. No, they won't all get to just numbers. That's just a number. But can you see how they're not all just numbers? You've got to really be careful. Sometimes there's letters left as well. Now that's a long video, and that's a hard video. You need to do a little bit of practice at that, starting all the way back at the easy ones and then getting into those harder ones. Okay, have fun. Factorising is like a core skill for your advanced kids. Get into it and know it well.